Ferrari has gotten off to a flying start this season. They have dominated the opening races and are not slowing down anytime soon. The 2022 rule changes have given Scuderia a massive advantage. What are the new secret Ferrari F1 features that have put them at the top of the table? And could their controversial 2019 engine be the source of their success? Stay tuned to find out. First up, a head start. The most successful team in Formula 1 has had it tough the last few years. Ferrari is the most recognizable brand in motorsport. They have hundreds of millions of fans worldwide, and everyone wants to drive with them. But still, they haven't had much to smile about. Not only has it been 13 years since Ferrari won their last championship, it's also been a painful decade for the Italian motorsport giant. In the 2014 season, they didn't even win a single race. When Sebastian Vettel came into the team in 2015, he sparked some hope for Ferrari fans, but it soon turned to disappointment over the next few years. Engine problems, Mercedes dominance, and a number of mistakes by Vettel meant that they were always second best. So what has been the big change this year? Well, for one thing, Ferrari stopped working on their 2021 car around halfway through last season. The team virtually gave up on any chance of success last year and instead focused all of their attention on this year's car. But Ferrari team boss Binotto thinks that it wasn't the result of extra time on the car, but they have just done a better job than their rivals. He said that, according to the rules, everyone was only allowed to start working in the wind tunnel and simulations on January 1st, 2021. He also made sure to not get ahead of themselves. He said that the team with clear advantages will only emerge after the first 5 races. Next, ready for the title fight. This season will be the longest F1 season on record. That means the engineers are getting ready for a marathon, not a sprint. Binotto believes that in the 2018 and 2019 seasons, their major issue was keeping up with the development of Mercedes and Red Bull over the course of a season. With each new race, teams bring updated parts and design changes that they hope will increase the performance of their cars. Last year in Brazil, an engine upgrade for Mercedes helped Lewis Hamilton fly past the field from the back of the grid. This year, Mercedes are a long way off the pace. They were around a second a lap slower than the race leaders in the first race. They were desperately trying to install aerodynamic upgrades to their floor and rear wing to try and stop the bleeding. That's why Red Bull team boss Christian Horner is sure that Mercedes will bounce back before too long. He has seen the 8-time Constructors' champions recover and dominate too many times to rule them out. But for now, the battle remains between Red Bull and Ferrari. The first 2 races showed how small changes to the car can have a big impact on the race. In the season opener in Bahrain, Ferrari had the highest top speed, and Charles Leclerc was able to cruise past Verstappen again and again until Verstappen's engine failed. In the next race, Ferrari opted for a higher downforce setup, which meant that they sacrificed top speed on the straights. The fight was a lot closer, and once again it was Max and Charles duking it out. The Red Bull came up on top, but it just went to show that there can be big differences from round to round. So what are Ferrari's secret design features this year? And did their suspicious engine in 2019 lead to the lightning performance we're seeing now? Don't go anywhere to find out. Variety is the spice of life, right? Well, it's also the spice of Formula 1. The regulations have changed massively this year. Ferrari's racing director, Laurent Mekies, has said that the 2022 changes are the most radical of the last 40 years. To respond to the changes, he made aerodynamics the top priority of the team. Mekies has worked as the chief engineer of Red Bull, and he knows how the British team operates. He has also worked with the FIA as a safety director, so he is very familiar with what the rules are and how to break them. The regulation change has been met by bold designs from many of the teams, including huge side pods for Ferrari. Team boss Mattia Binotto said that the team refers to the bulky side pods of the F175s as goldfish bowls because they are so big, and it looked like the team has hit its targets. When the Scuderia arrived in Bahrain for season testing, their car was much lower to the ground than its rivals. This is the aim for any Formula 1 car because it gives greater downforce to stick to the track while moving, but they have to keep up with their foes at Red Bull to make sure they don't fall behind. Just after the first race, Ferrari had already made small changes to its front wing design. Other teams have made changes too, hoping to increase the aerodynamic performance of their cars. Only a couple of races into the season, and Ferrari has already introduced a new floor design and diffuser. Meanwhile, before the Australian Grand Prix, Christian Horner said that small changes that the team had made were helping them to be more competitive with Ferrari. Next, a secret solution to porpoising. Teams were pushing their cars to the very edge in preseason testing, but an an annoying new problem seemed to be holding them all back. It was called porpoising, which is where the car bounces up and down while accelerating because of air getting trapped underneath. The problem came up partly because of the difficulties in testing the conditions in wind tunnels and simulators. Different constructors seem to have different solutions to it. During testing, Mattia Binotto said that there is actually a pretty simple fix to the issue, but no team is willing to do it. All that needs to be done is to increase the height of the car. But in a sport where downforce is everything, cars are trying to be as low as possible to the ground. McLaren was one of the only teams in preseason testing that seemed to not run into porpoising, but once the real racing started, it was clear that they were far behind any of their competitors. Ferrari seemed to have it under control, and Leclerc said that the consistency and balance of the car was really promising. Reports have suggested that Red Bull solved their problem by developing an innovative rear suspension that adjusts to the porpoising. For Ferrari, it has been revealed that they have changed the design of their floor to get rid of some of the troublesome air that gets trapped underneath. This is used in combination with a smaller front wing to minimize the bouncing. These changes are difficult to see for the casual viewer, but they could be having a radical impact on the performance of the car. When there's smoke, there's fire, and Ferrari had plenty of smoke in 2019. It was a very controversial year for the team. They were still a step behind Mercedes, but Ferrari drivers Charles Leclerc and Sebastian Vettel split many of the second and third place finishes between them. This led some of the other teams to ask questions about where Ferrari found all this power all of a sudden. The engine advantage Ferrari had was worth approximately 0.8 seconds a lap. After the FIA concluded an investigation into the suspicious engine, they ended it with a confidential settlement. It was unclear what was discovered. Then, mysteriously, the next year in 2020, their performance dropped off dramatically, and part of the agreement Ferrari reached with the FIA included helping the organization study the use of the new E10 fuel. Maybe this is where Ferrari has a head start. If they were involved in helping the FIA research engine technology for the new era, they might have been better placed for the switch. And based on the power of their cars this year, it looks like they are. The head of power units for Ferrari, Enrico Gualtieri, said that the new power unit for this season manages to optimize fuel consumption even more than in previous years. Other engines haven't adapted so well. All teams with Mercedes power units are slow, and all of the cars with Ferrari engines are quick. Haas is so fast that teams are referring to their car as the white Ferrari. So it looks like the punishment Ferrari got may have been a reward. They should break the rules more often. Do you think Ferrari can keep up with Red Bull this season? And is the Ferrari engine the strongest on the grid? Let us know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.